Well, tropical storm watches have been put in place for parts of the Lesser Antilles as Tropical Storm Jerry continues to churn in the middle of the Atlantic. The storm is battling hostile winds to potentially develop further into a hurricane. And here to discuss the current state of the Atlantic is Professor of Meteorology at FSU, that's Florida State University, Mark Bourassa. Mark, you're also the Associate Director at FSU's Center for Ocean Atmosphere Prediction Studies. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So let's start real quick on Jerry. Anything stand out to you about this tropical storm that's potentially going to strengthen into a hurricane sooner than later?
It's looking like it's growing into that hurricane. The images from satellites are showing it getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, it sure does. And, in terms of where it's heading, it's been kind of interesting over the past, really this past hurricane season. Looks like it may be kind of following in the footsteps of some of our other systems and storms.
Yes, it looks like another one that's going to strike Bermuda and then turn far off into the Atlantic. So this one's not a threat to the U.S. coast, but certainly to the Lesser Antilles.
Absolutely. What are your concerns for, we have some viewers out in Puerto Rico. Any concern there?
They're going to get wind. They're going to get waves. I mean, it's if it grows the way we expect it to, it's something they're going to have to be aware of.
Absolutely. And Professor, I'd love to get your thoughts, your analysis, especially when it comes to how wind shear may or may not impact this system.
Right. Wind shear is normally pretty detrimental to hurricane growth. In the absence of wind shear, we expect them to grow. It has been experiencing some. It looks like it's growing now. It will probably experience more in the future if the high stays in place, and then go off to out in the Atlantic. So I think that's what's going to partially stop it from growing into a strong hurricane.
I would completely agree with you. So in other words, although we've seen this with previous hurricanes, so are you confident in saying that this is probably not then going to undergo any sort of rapid intensification?
Those forecasts are fraught with danger, but I will say it's unlikely.
Yes, I would completely agree with you on that. That's for sure. And then, Professor, all right, so I want you to somewhat read the tea leaves, if you will, here. Look into your magic 8 ball. What do you think the remainder of hurricane season looks like, not just for the remainder of October, but also as we head into November?
We should be winding down now. So we could always get more storms, but they're not likely to be the extreme storms that we've been seeing in other years. It doesn't look like we're going to have anything hitting us from the Atlantic in the near future, but Gulf storms always are an interesting threat at this time.
That is the truth right there. All right, I want your 2 cents on this before I let you go, Mark, is we're looking at that coastal storm as well. What are your thoughts on this coastal storm that's brewing, that possibly be turning into a nor'easter here soon?
Yeah, that looks like the system to worry about. We're going to get enough in the early stages. We'll get enough onshore flow to cause flooding in the South Carolinas. It only takes a few inches. As it goes further north, it gets stronger. And then the outflow from Jerry is flowing up there in the models, and it could add more power to this storm as well.
That's what I thought was the most significant and interesting part about this is really, the relationship between the two. We saw that relationship also between Imelda and Umberto. And, although this won't be what we would, classically define as a tropical system because it's a nor'easter, it still has influences, and Jerry and those nor'easter will still, in ways, interact with one another.
Right, they could have the moisture from Jerry going into the nor'easter. They could actually start spinning around each other and do things the models aren't forecasting right now. It's a really interesting situation.
It's so interesting to watch, and I also think, Professor, that what's also interesting is the fact that when you look at our hurricane season in general, I actually think that our nor'easter could be more impactful than, at least on the United States coastline, than any of the tropical systems that we've seen thus far.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting just to watch and wait to see what happens as this thing begins to evolve and to develop. Professor, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and of course, as always, for your insight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.